Okay, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Just Being Center, a very, very warm welcome to every one of you to this open house session hosted by Just Being. We are in fact delighted to have so many of you on Sunday morning with us. And, also you're joining from different spaces and different walks of life. So my name is Gayatri. Today's session, we would be talking about the role of embodied presence in deep listening and holding space, which is in fact inviting us for deeper exploration of this subject. Once again, thank you for being here, and we look forward to take this journey with you on this shared space. In the beginning, I would just mention a little bit about Just Being. It's an initiative that began in 2011 to encourage the beingness and to allow action to emerge from the space. We all know that Sandy is the founder director of Just Being, and she's also a mindfulness and presence oriented psychotherapist. She's with us today. She's the lead trainer and teacher for mindfulness and presence oriented psychotherapy and mindfulness-based counseling, listening with embodied presence courses. I would like to welcome Sandy. We all know that she's extremely passionate about, merging the mainstream with this approach with an aspect of mindfulness. And at this point in time, I would like to invite Sandy to share her reflections with us.
Thank you, Gayatri, and welcome everyone, and welcome Shrishti, Swati, Shreya, and Lakshmi for joining in on this morning, and everyone else who's probably interested in the course and wants to know more about it. So, like Gayatri shared, all of our work at Just Being is really centered around mindfulness and presence oriented work, whether it is counseling, the trainings, and or any initiatives that we take with organizations or communities. And that really shifts things for us, especially because the approach that is taken, and I'll speak specifically about the mindfulness based, the embodied listening course. My listening with embodied presence. So sometimes I really don't know what to place first, whether I should place the mindfulness based counseling first, or whether to place the listening with embodied presence first. But I really think at the core of it is the listening with embodied presence. So maybe we can place that first, which is also a mindfulness based approach to counseling and holding space. So, when we take an orientation which is based in mindfulness, embodiment, presence, then there is a central role, and also in the training, that's a central piece that comes in of really attending to the self of the listener. So, as the practitioner, really coming into that sense of embodiment, being able to listen and give space from that sense of embodied presence. And so, the embodied presence, the listening with embodied presence, is really for the practitioner. And that really sets the ground for holding space for individuals as well as for groups. So the course is also designed in a way that we go in a step-by-step way, integrating pieces in each module. And it's also about really coming into listening from the heart and having that sense of felt connection where the other person, the person you're holding space for, feels that sense of connection and safety, and that allows for things to move as it might. So it's a very non-directive kind of approach. It's very moment to moment kind of listening and really not trying to do much, but to really listen to what is the process unfolding for the other person in front of us, and um, and really trusting that whatever might be needed in that moment will be there, and the person can tap into their own inner resources and inner wisdom, and move through whatever they are encountering. So, this is what we really come into the learning in the whole process of the course, which is over a year. And it is something that one can do along with something else. So it's a part time course, but it really maybe demands a full fledged involvement, just as you are. And because the material we are really working with is ourselves, and how to come into the space to really allow for that unfolding to happen for the other, and for the person to feel held and seen and heard in a very deep and intimate way. Um, the intention of the course, of offering the course also, which we did close to 10 years ago, is that there needs to be more spaces in the world, in communities, where people are heard and seen and felt, and that um, many of us, whether we have a psychology background, a social work background, whatever is the professional background, as human beings, we have the capacity to be able to hold space for the other. And so the course is really about enhancing the quality of those spaces, and as well as that there are more spaces that are offered in the world. So with that, of course, feel free to keep your questions, and we can ask questions, after we hear everyone. And so there will be time for that. And so I'd really like to now hand it over to Gayatri, and if, yeah, to just take it forward and we can hear from each person.
Thank you, Sandy, so much for sharing all those reflections on embodied presence. Um, as Sandy has mentioned, we also have with us our four talented alumni. Now I take a pleasure to introduce our very, very talented alumnus, Swati Singla. Swati is a mindfulness practitioner, and she's also curator of nature mandalas and nature inspired poetry as intuitive pathways for connecting with and expressing body's innate wisdom. A long-time student of Buddhist philosophy and psychology, and she's currently pursuing our postgraduate diploma in mindfulness-based listening at Just Being. So I would like to invite Swati to share her reflections on her personal journey through this program. Swati, your experiences and insights would be very, very valuable to us to hear. So yeah, the space is yours.
Thanks, Gayatri. Yeah, I'm just also taking a moment to be just soaking in how just a year ago I was sitting on the other side as a future participant. And I'm so grateful to be able to share my experience now, having just kind of finishing the course. So, really glad to be here. And thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Gayatri, for inviting me. Um, So before I share my experience with the course, I thought I'll also give a little bit of background to where I come from. It might be helpful for future participants who might be in a similar space. So before I moved into these kind of healing spaces, I was in sciences and in corporate for more than 20 plus years. So I come from a very left brain kind of spaces. at the same time, for myself, I found that how useful and how healing it was to be in safe spaces where you could be heard. Um, I was in counseling and I was in exploring these spaces where you could really be held in a way that you could express whatever was there for you. And that's what led me to exploring if this is something I could maybe learn something about and bring it forward. And I was looking at different courses last year, and I ended up uh, stumbling upon Just Being. And being a mindfulness practitioner myself, this felt so aligned to what I wanted to do, uh, or at least the kind of spaces I wanted to hold. And I'm really glad I did this because what really came through for me this through this journey was how what we learn in this space is like the ground or the foundation for any kind of a space that we hold, whether for ourselves or for another. And that ground can be in a counseling space, can be in a therapeutic space, but it's true. I think it's applicable anywhere we are in a relational space, right? And that's something that I really take forward. So I really hope that whatever background or profession that we come from, that we get to benefit from this kind of experience of this ground that we hold. Now, coming to my actual experience of the course, there's so much to say. But like I've been a trainer myself, and I've been in multiple trainings, both as a participant, as a trainer over the last 20 plus years. What really struck me was um, like it's very beautifully structured. And as Sandy said, it's experiential. There are many layers to it. At the same time, it feels like we're slow, like we're gently held with our hands and we go step by step down within ourselves. Uh, and we learn each kind of a principle of what we're going to be holding for the other. Um, and there's so many different components. So there is the actual modules where we actually interact with each other and where we learn. But there's also a lot of learning in between through assignments, through peer sessions, through client sessions. And all of that I feel makes it very unique because it's just not about the class content per se, but it's about the whole experience. Yeah. And as I was sitting back and thinking about the last 1 year, I was thinking, what did I really learn? And what came to me was what I actually experienced. So it was not really, I say it's more than learning, it's really experiencing. And it's learning through experiencing. Because when we're trying to hold space from an embodied space, uh, what we can offer to the other is what we have received for ourselves, is what I really feel. And when we have experienced it in our body, mind, what it means to be safe, what it means to be truly met, what it means to be truly listened to, then we can offer it to the other, whether it to be a client or to anybody that we are listening to. So I think in that way, this 1 year has been more of a, for me, it's just been experiencing, and that experiencing of safety, experiencing of belonging, experiencing of truly listen to and to be able to be present to whatever is there moment to moment. Um, and that starts from, as Sandy said, again, a lot of the emphasis in the training is what is happening within us as a listener. So holding that space for myself. And then as I do that, I can hold it for the other. Um, so yeah, that's something I would absolutely say this, I feel this course really is unique in that way that uh, it has to be experienced to be able to talk about it in a way. It's, sometimes words are not enough. Um, the other thing that I'm reflecting on in terms of key learnings is how like there are many principles in the course that we get to experience and practice with, but it was not just in the uh, like in the classes or the modules that was there. We get to experience those principles with any interaction that we have, whether it's with the facilitators, whether it's with the supervision, even with like normal interaction with the Just Being team. We get to experience that every time, and even with the peers. So that kind of again makes it a very lived experience rather than a more of an intellectual learning. Um, I'll give two examples. One was around we work a lot with the principle of okayness, to be okay with what is present for us internally and to bring that sense of okay to the listening space. And to experience that okayness in the body mind is a very, very different thing than to know it intellectually. And that's something that I take back from this course for myself personally, what it really means to be okay with whatever is happening even in within my body mind, right? So, and then to hold that for the other. Uh, the other is around, which Sandy again mentioned, was the moment to moment, being present to whatever shows up moment to moment. And what was beautiful to me was that although there is a lot of structure and there's a safe container for whatever we learn, but there's also a lot of space for the emergence of the learning from the participants and the group moment to moment. So again, this was something that we learned through the course, that what does it really mean to be present to a moment to moment experience of listening. Um, I think those are the two key things I take back for myself. Along with all of the learnings and along with the experiencing, what I also value is the safety. For me, being in group spaces is a little challenging. So just from the very beginning, how safe it felt. There's a deep sense of belonging. There is this deep sense of accompanying each other. So it never felt like that I was the only one who was learning. It felt like we were all together. Um, and yeah, the other thing that I really take back is um, like my mindfulness practice itself, which has, I've always wondered, like, how, what does it mean to live from that off the cushion? So to be able to bring that practice in relational spaces for myself and for the other, and hopefully in for my clients, I feel um, that's like for me it's a gift, because then I can actually take my practice to the living. Um, and the last but not the least, I'm already excited about the next step in this journey. As I said, I didn't come from a healing profession background, and I wasn't even sure if this is what I wanted to do or if I could do this. And this gave me so much confidence and so much trust in the process that I'm already ready. Like, I'm really excited about taking it forward. So, yeah, I hope some of you would be excited to and join this course. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Swati, for sharing all those reflections, especially given the fact that you come from a very different background. So your insights have brought very, very fresh, valuable perspectives, which I'm sure many of us would take it forth. I'm now delighted to introduce our another very talented, energetic alumni, Srishti and Shreya. Srishti is a researcher, educator, and mindfulness practitioner. Her work spans applied research in education, public policy, and rural development. Very, very warm welcome, Srishti. Shreya comes to mindfulness-based counseling and listening with embodied presence as a seeker of depth, spaciousness, and more so, or loving ways of just being in the world. She spent, I was just having a chat with Shreya a little while ago, And I understood that she comes also from a very varied background. She spent 12 years in public health, working to strengthen public systems that support human development with care and dignity. Very, very warm welcome, Shreya. I would now like to invite Srishti to share some insights and transformations from her journey through this program.
Thanks, Gayatri. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see all of us here, and it's always very lovely to be back in a space with just being. I think, yeah, there's just always a lot of love and safety. That's what I spoke about. I think some of the insights and some of the things that I wanted to share were related to how the course really changed me and changed like my approach to my profession and just in general life. And I think I'll just, reiterate some of the things that Swati already brought up, which was just a lot of it, a lot of the course was experiencing. So I remember like I came into the course having done a lot of reading around counseling, mindfulness, spirituality, and I was craving a space where I would get to experience some of that. And but I remember on the first day, on the first module, and then Sandy was like, okay, now we're just gonna go into breakout rooms and listen to each other. And I was just like, what? Like already? So it was, I think that was just very powerful, right? Like I think from the beginning, just jumping into the experience, just really feeling what it is like was really powerful. I think the idea of okayness was very powerful for me as well. I think just realizing, just being with that idea and practicing that in a listening space really helped me to just see everyone as human beings, just see everyone as like as complex human beings, and that just being okay. And as we spent time with that, there was the idea of, there's no fixing. So there's an idea of wholeness, which is that everybody is, and that's it. Like everybody is having an experience, I'm having an experience, you're having an experience. And how do we really just make that okay and not walk into a space trying to fix someone or trying to like change something about someone or the situation. And of course, there are many, nuances and layers to that, but I think that idea was really powerful. And so for me as a, as a researcher, as an educator, or just as a leader, as a manager, like some of these concepts really stuck and changed the way that I approach work. So I think some of the things that I wanted to bring into this space was just having this experience of meeting someone else at a human level and connecting with someone else at a human level. Also really made me rethink like what is social change or what is development, or what is right or wrong. And I think just the course really helped me build capacity to engage with those ideas and those complexities. And I think that's what then now I'm able to bring into my work, where it's not just a linear, path from one place to another, or it's not just black or white or right or wrong, but it's just like a journey and just being with whatever I'm working with, just also being with that moment to moment. Yeah, and I think just really experiencing that when I am able to see myself and hear myself for who I am, then I'm able to hold that space for other people. And that for me really was where I felt real change was happening and really like things were moving. Yeah, so that was a very powerful experience, and I hope this was helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Srishti, for sharing those insights with us. And we all appreciate the idea that how you shared how, being with other human beings changed the whole perspective for you. Thank you for sharing and thank you for being here today. Now I would like to invite Shreya. I would like to invite, Shreya to, Shreya, we would like to hear about your experiences that have touched you, that have challenged you, or perhaps that have shaped your understanding of deep listening.
Thank you, Gayatri. I'm just going to take a moment, and I hope that's okay with everyone, to just come into a sense of grounding and just slow down a little before I speak to all of you all about my experience. Just lean into the support of the chair that I'm sitting on. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me that moment. Yeah. So I think the first learning for me from this course is just about being just that, like just being okay with slowing down and just being however I am in that moment, and that's okay. And just also coming into a sense of trust, trust first in myself, trust in the other person that I'm sharing a space with. And I think that's something that Shrishti mentioned, this idea of wholeness, that however I am, I'm whole right now, however the other person is, they're whole. And also a third trust, which is the trust in this space that all of us are here together. And whatever I have to say will be said. Okay, I'll give you a quick background about myself. Gayatri, thank you for those kind words for me. Yeah, so I'm from Bombay. I grew up here in the city. And my background, I always wanted to work in the social sector. I started my career with working with the Municipal Corporation, Mumbai, and then I worked in rural development for a few years. And I worked in the sectors of public health, waste management, rural development, and went on, studied different things, worked at the state level, worked in policy making. And by the time I'd spent about 8 or 10 years in my career, I sort of experienced this burnout that, okay, I'm doing all of these things and something's just not feeling right for me. I wasn't feeling right within myself. And I was also not impact or the point of the work that I was doing. And the last thing that I did in my career was working in sort of human resources. So working with people that work in all of these systems, because they're important to deliver whichever outcomes, whether we're in the public sector or the private sector, we work with people. And I started to realize that there's something in the relationship that people are having with each other that's amiss. And the only thing I could do is learn to build a relationship with myself. So I think this course just came to me as an opportunity to do that. And I was also going through something very difficult in my life, in my personal journey at the time. And this is something that Swati mentioned as well, that there's that sense of safety and community. And I don't think I've ever been held or seen in this way in a lot of other spaces, like, because there's always this sort of guard that goes up that this is my identity and this is how I have to be, and some practiced ways of being in the world. And I think coming into this course sort of allows you to drop that a little bit, just stay, be okay with just waiting and seeing what is it that's actually coming up for you. So that kind of we say, I think this is a word that's used in one of our modules, which is personally my favorite module, but it's about like tuning into yourself, the inner listening, and just waiting, so and then like already Swati and Shrishti said, like, we hear the importance of all of these things, and somewhere all of this resonates with all of us. But what is it like to actually practice that every moment that you stay still? This course forces you to practice that, like to stay that stillness and see what it feels like to do that, and also witness what unfolds after that, right? Like a lot of these intangible concepts, that, you hear words like resonance, and yes, you understand resonance, but what is it like to actually feel resonance? How do you then, as a practitioner, when you hold space for other people, how do you, just by staying, create that resonance, create that attunement? Like, so it's really about seeing how something, at least to me, was intangible becomes tangible. Yeah, so that's what it is. And where am I going to go with this? Well, I don't know. I think for me, the transformation has been that I've really allowed myself to be. I think I had a lot of different sort of, like I said, guards or just ideas of how I should be. And I'm really starting to meet myself for the first time in many ways in life, and see what is it that actually interests me. And yeah, and I think somebody else already said this, that it's also about how you meet the people around you. So it's not just about holding space for people, but also the people that we come across on the street, or like, just in life, like, so it sort of enriches and deepens sort of every interaction that you're having. And yeah, I think yeah, there's a lot of wholeness, spaciousness, there's a lot of allowing, and yeah, I think I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shreya, for bringing those experiences in today's open house. Your reflections, they have offered very, very valuable insights, and we really, really appreciate the openness and depth you have brought today into the space. Now I would like to invite our dear alumnus, Lakshmi Gunaskar. Lakshmi comes from a profession actually which requires a unique blend of intuition, insight, and awareness. I personally liked her profession a lot. She's a psychic facilitator and archetypal tarot reader, weaving deep listening, psychosomatic tools, and energy healing. Her work is an invitation to come home to yourself, to move through life with clarity and trust. So, very, very warm welcome, Lakshmi. I would now request you to share your reflections on how the program has informed your professional life, your professional practice. We would like to hear from you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you for having me here. I would say, so I've been practicing tarot for about 4 or 5 years before I joined this course. And like I'd studied psychology undergrad, but I was very hesitant to go do masters in psychology from a professional setting. Somehow, somehow the learning was not very tangible for me. Like I'm a very hands-on person. To be able to learn, I need to do hands-on work. This was a good. This course was just perfect for me. In terms of a combination of theory and hands-on. I think up until then, I was also in a little bit of a slump in my practice. There was all this and questioning of why is something happening through tarot. It helps you think about it in a very intellectual way, but there was not a lot of just staying with what is present. We hear about feeling your feelings, but didn't really know how to do that. So I think this course helped me understand what it means to sit with the feelings. So it got me a very clear foundation. It gave me a very clear foundation of how psychosomatic work is done, especially how it can be useful in a therapeutic space. So I was able to take that foundation and use it. That became the foundation of my practice as well. So this gift, I would say it's like a it's like it was an inspiration that I'm taking forward. This ability to sit with what is present in my body, one thing at a time, slowing down around it became like a sort of a rite of passage from feeling troubled and anxious or chaotic into just calmness and trusting my own inner knowing. And that has really given me this sense of agency and ability to stand in my power. And that's exactly what I offer in my work for others. That is the base of my work. During the course, one big thing I was moving through for myself. I mean, if it hasn't been communicated, I think everybody said this in their own way, but it's not just about learning how to do this for others, but doing this for ourselves as well. So one thing that I was moving through during this course is this sort of a stone wall around my heart space that I sensed into. And through the year, being listened to and witnessed in community really broke those walls down around my heart in like a very visual somatic way. And before that, every time I tried to touch into that feeling in my heart space, I would spiral out and become numb. But this gift of titration, of like sort of slowing down around it and feeling it little by little really helped me move through it. Before that, I would think about like, oh, this is here. Is it like from my childhood experience, or is it like a past life thing? And there would be this questioning of why. But this course really gave me the gift of just feeling it and allowing it to move. And that's exactly what I offer in my sessions for my clients. I now have a somatic journal to like make drawings of like what kind of sensations, what kind of feelings come up for me and for my clients. And I feel like the sort of a mad scientist trying to figure out, like in my own way, trying to understand this somatic thing. And of course, I'll go forward and self-study it more, perhaps even take more courses to understand this better. But really, this course has laid the foundation of the practice that I do now. Yeah, I hope what I shared made sense. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Shreya, for those insightful, kind words. Thank you, in fact, to all the alumni, Srishti, Shreya, Lakshmi, Swati, for sharing your journeys, insights, reflections with such openness, such depth. Now, I think we all must have got it that embodied listening is essential for all professions because it goes beyond simply hearing words. It involves being fully present and being fully attuned to our own bodies. Now, I would like to open the space for reflections, questions, inquiries. If there is something that has resonated with you or which has stirred a question, now is the time to bring it up. We would try our best to answer your questions.
And it need not be only questions. We can just take a pause and we can just see what's here for us. Maybe it's a reflection. Maybe you want to share about also what brought you here this morning. And we can also have that. So maybe we can just take just 30 seconds or just seeing what's here for us. Yeah. Yeah, Sumbul?
Thank you, Sandy. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this entire session really resonated at a very uh, visceral level in some ways. But I have a few questions. First of all is, so I teach at a university, and we have a very hectic schedule, and it's a struggle. And I have a small child, and the commute is crazy. There's barely time to breathe, and most days I'm just struggling to be, just to manage, just about juggling everything. So that's the first question. So given that lack of physical temporal space, forget about the space within, how does one even think about something like this? That leads me to the second question. I have students, and the young students, 19, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and they, I know they seek me out. They would sort of, I always have students waiting outside to talk to me, and I literally have to shut the door sometimes. I've been quite a wreck myself, so I just, but so very often, when I'm listening to students, or, when someone's been very persistent and I say, okay, let's speak, let's talk. I barely have space within me, and I feel for them, and but it leaves me feeling even more drained, they're going through really difficult situations, and students today, I think, have it much more tough than we did. So it leaves me feeling even more drained and even more exhausted. So I want to be there for them, but I don't feel like I have it within me to be able to manage their feelings and my own exhaustion, absolute exhaustion. So how do you, and of course that leads to the third question, which is that, everybody, and I have been in touch with a lot of Just Being people at different times. I've also been part of some of the Saturday offerings. There's such a sense of calm, and there's such a sense of peace when I hear anybody talking, all the alumni who spoke today, and of course Sandy and guys, everyone. There is this sense that, you guys seem so, whole and so complete. And I think I'm so broken, how do I even, where do I? So it just feels like, how does one do that? So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sumbul. And I think, and I'd also invite the others, Shrishti, Swati, Shreya, Lakshmi, if you all have anything to say around this from your experience. But the first part of, because like really central that you've been hearing throughout is that in order to hold the space for others, we need to also allow that space for ourselves. And in meeting ourselves and different parts of us and our emotions, we know how to meet the other. And so when we find ourselves, and we often find ourselves in this maybe sometimes phases in our life, which may seem unending, or moments in our lives when we are completely overwhelmed with everything that is coming at us, which we need to respond to. And taking that time, like a pause, almost seems unthinkable. And yet, maybe it's the thing that we really have to start with. And it doesn't have to be long pauses and meditations. And even through the course, although mindfulness practice is very much part of it, it's key. we do know that we have a different, each of us are faced with different things. We might also have different histories and patterns of responding. And so we have to also come into the mindfulness practice at our own pace. But that we need to come into it, you know. So it may be a short pause to begin with, of just clearing the space to just sit. And often we use the anchors to begin with so that there is a kind of centering and grounding. That is not to say also that, you know, thank you, Sambur, for saying that, you know, everyone here just being or coming through just being is all calm and comes across all calm and collected. You had to see me just before the session when my internet connections are not working and like I mean, you can ask my daughter who was around, like, I had to like really get on. And so, of course, we get caught up. And of course, there are all of those struggles. But like people have been sharing, there is a taste, at least there's a taste of an underlying sense of okayness. And if not at all moments, at least there's a reminder, okay, I can still come into it and I don't have to be all perfect and okay at all times and calm and collected and it's okay. And that very emotion or that very expression is then the pathway to really discovering something very important of what I might need, what I might be pointed out to, because we really hold that all of this is, even those expressions are expressions of life and expressions of our own inner direction. So it's all valid. And I think that's the confidence that starts to come in. That's the confidence that where there's the capacity building also. You know, it's a slow capacity building for life. So it's not like at the end of 1 year, you know, we are all there. But it's opening the doorways, and for many people, they are already on that path and journey, and this is another opening and a step to kind of deepen and expand and integrate as well. So we do find ourselves wherever we are, and wherever we are is okay. But the importance of that pause to just begin with. And so we make time for that pause, whether it is just 3 minutes, whether it is just something we weave in through our busy day, whether it is we weave in our mindful awareness with what we are doing. So it doesn't become, oh my God, now I have to take this extra time now so that I can be with whatever I'm doing. And that is important, but we can start with wherever we are and however we are. So someone, I don't remember who, but a meditation teacher once said about that if we are we do need to have a practice, right? The need for practice. And if one finds oneself very busy, then we need even more practice, even more time and clearing of space for that. Easier said than done, but we start in a small way. We start with what we can and however we can. And that sense of not pushing ourselves, but also coming into practice, coming into conscious practice, holding both together. That kind of accepting attitude towards ourselves is then which naturally comes into how we are seeing the other, right? Or holding space for the other. So when it comes to listening to the other, when, like there's no space in between, like I need the space, so that I can listen to others' advice, like Sumbul, you were talking about, which is true for so many of us. That how can I listen to all these strong experiences and feelings that other people are bringing in when I'm feeling so overwhelmed with my own experience? And that can feel exhausting because we are trying, right? And so, part of the course structure is also in terms of really having that space for oneself, which comes through in the peer listening, that we are doing exchanges. So, although we are learning a process, we are also getting listened to. So, we are also being held by another. And this being held by another is a critical piece of the way we practice in the course and in this orientation. Um, so so we don't have to do all of the work alone by ourselves, right? And that allows some space, that also and also the emphasis on having our own personal therapy sessions. So, in order to do that, you're right, Sumbul, that we need we need that care also for ourselves, and not just something that we are attempting to do as another to do thing on a long list of to dos, but really where someone else is just uh, can be there for us in this very non-judgmental embodied space where we can really take our time with what's there. I'm forgetting the third question. Um,
Yeah, they're all connected, I think.
they're
Yeah.
all connected. Yeah. And I'm wondering whether others have anything more to add to this from your own experience.
Share something to what Sandy said, Sumbul, and I can empathize and understand how difficult it is when we ourselves are going through so much to be able to hold space for another. One of the things that I think also the course brings is there's a lot of resourcing that happens, and we learn ways of resourcing ourselves first before we can do it for the other. So for me, that was a big one. I tend to be a natural overgiver, so I go out of the way to hold space for others, and to be able to notice for myself when I need to take care of myself first and be present to what's there, resource it, and then share it with the other. So there is a lot that happens that integrates in the process. Um, on the third part, as Sandy said, yeah, it's sweet of you to say that we all sound very collected, but I hate public speaking. I get very nervous. So you should have seen me like 5 minutes before this. I had to really resource myself and be here. So yeah, it's we hold both in a way.
It's really
Oh.
reassuring to hear that, honestly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumbul. I'm wondering whether there are other reflections or questions about the course, or just a simple sharing of what brings you here. Yeah, Nikhil.
Yeah, hi everyone. So a lot of what was shared here resonated with me very deeply. And I mean, what's coming up right now is I'm seeing Revati on the screen, and she's the one who invited me to this session. So I'm also just glad about just really acknowledging that. The question that came up was that so I am also a strong believer in a non-directive approach. So the transforming therapy practices that I do as a practitioner is also very non-directive in nature, among other things. But I was wondering, so have there been instances, when, say, you are holding space for someone, and I understand that non-directiveness is like at the core of, from what I heard from, some of those papers. But when you're holding space for someone, and at that moment, have there been instances when you thought that maybe this person might also need a bit of a directive approach? So just wondering about the significance of that and what happens, because if I am holding a space with the basic principle that it's going to be fully non-directive, and I will give it my whole, I will do it with my heart, full heart and whole being. But at that moment, if I feel that that person might need a directive approach, maybe, I mean, have there been, just trying to understand the significance of that too here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for that, Nikhil. And so, in the, from a humanistic, non-directive sense, yeah, we are somewhere there. But it is also a mindfulness-based approach, which is also very, we also include somatic elements. So when we are attuned and listening to the other, like let's say a strong feeling is coming up for the other, overwhelming feeling. There's nothing wrong with a strong feeling coming up, but an overwhelming feeling that can feel too much for the person. And yet we know that allowing that feeling is also important, yeah, because probably there hasn't been that space for that person to share. And in those moments, because the practitioner is attuned, embodied, in resonance, then there are invitations that are made to, like Swati was saying, in terms of maybe coming into taking some time to just ground, to just resource, to just be with oneself in a more gentle way, so that I can listen to myself better. Right? So the whole like purpose in some way of this kind of listening that we hold is that the other can be able to listen to themselves more clearly. And therefore, that direction then comes from the other person's process and not what we think is right. So you're just, supporting the person enough so that they can be able to listen to themselves. And sometimes that might mean just not coming in at all. And we do a lot of practice because our habitual patterns is of coming in. Our habitual patterns is of, maybe rescuing the other or trying to show the person something or the other, or feeling like that's what we need to be doing. And our own, beliefs of what we hold, all of that comes up. And so we really practice of really being able to listen to that and to kind of like hold back and stay with what is it that is coming up for us and not let that drive the process. Once we are fairly comfortable with that, and I say fairly comfortable because it's a lifelong practice, we are fairly comfortable with that, then we can know, oh, okay, this is happening because this is something that I'm attuning in, and it's not coming from wanting to move the person from point A to point B, or because I'm uncomfortable with the emotion that's coming up, but because really, for this person to be able to really be with themselves, this can be a little supportive at this point of time, like a little pause there. We also, so there are the skills that we also teach of what can facilitate this process, right? Some of those skills are common with other humanistic approaches, like using reflection or uh, or really showing that you get what the other person is saying so that they are able to touch into that experience themselves and know for themselves, a little bit more about where their inner wisdom is leading them towards. So that's I don't know whether that uh, so yes, it's not that it's directive in that sense. It still remains non-directive, but there is support that is offered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi.
I just want to add that I find the direction comes from their inner knowing, from their connection, interconnectedness, if that makes sense. Like I work with like the base of my work is the connection to the divine or sacred, and I think in at least the way this practice this program is informed my practice is allowing them to listen to their own inner knowing, which is essentially divine guidance, if that makes sense.
I think I'm being able to understand this, and yeah. So thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Sandy. So just a follow-up question, and I mean, I might also want to think about this later. Is that so? Have there been instances when there have been people who might be living with certain challenges have come and maybe you might have thought that maybe a particular directive approach at this moment might benefit them more. And maybe then you recommended them to someone because this is a highly non-directive approach with some. I think I understood what you said, Sandy, about providing those directions. I mean, yeah. So,
Yeah, so this we're not holding, and I don't think any approach can really hold this that this is like for everyone at every point of time, and it is the best fit. So yes, there might be a need for more support for a person, and so what this course equips you to do is at the end of the course you are able to hold space for the other and uh, and if there is something more, like let's say if there's a clinical condition where there is something more, and if you don't have the background in that, then of course the person needs to be supported by somebody who has the expertise in that, and you can continue to support with the holding of the listening space. This course is open to people, like I said, from all walks of life. So you're just interested in, that I want to hold space for individuals or groups. And given that, it's like gives it a good solid base to be able to do that, right? And if there's something more required to also know, and that's what also the course covers much later on, that if there is a need for something more, then how do you also know that and see that um, and also provide that for the other? Because finally, it is whatever supports the other person and in the other person's best interest. That's what, as practitioners, as mental health practitioners, we would always hold core.
thank you, Sandy. That clears it. Thank you.
Yeah. And also, while it is open to people from, different backgrounds,
Sandy, I think in the last few seconds, your voice just went away.
Sandy, your voice is not.
yeah. So, what I was saying is that although the course is open to people from all backgrounds, it's also people from a psychology background or who are already holding space, who are counselors, also find it really very useful because it provides that foundational base from which you can really practice, because at the end of it, it's also very relational, and the core of counseling is relational. Many of us spoke about safety, and to create that sense of safety and connection, a felt sense of it, is quite fundamental to counseling. Yeah. Maybe we can also hear from others, just maybe your thoughts or what's there for you, or yeah. What are you seeking at this point of time? And if there isn't anything, and if we feel complete, then that's also okay. Maybe Gayatri, you can put a link to the course details on the chat, and the whole outline of the course and what all it entails and the modules, all of that information is on the website, and you can have a look at that. And Priya, who's the coordinator for trainings. So you can always reach out to her or just write to us at justbeingcenter@gmail.com if you'll have any questions or queries, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy, and I want to thank everyone who is for their presence today in this beautiful session and their contribution. Thank you everybody who is present here to be participating in this. Deep gratitude to everyone, and wishing you all a very, very gentle and meaningful unfolding ahead. Thank you.
And thank you, guys. And thank you again, Shrishti, Shreya, Lakshmi, Swati, and thank you, Revati, for joining in. Yeah. And yeah.